everyone, it's Sharonda from Pay Your Weights, and today I'm going to be reviewing Spider-Man No Way Home, which is currently playing in theaters. This film is directed by John Watts and it stars Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Benedict Cumberbatch. With Spider-Man's identity now being revealed, Peter asks Doctor Strange for some help. But when a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds start to appear, forcing Peter to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. So for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome, hello, so glad you came, I hope you stay. I'll tell you what I liked about the film, what I didn't like about the film, and is it worth your time or not paying or waiting to see Spider-Man No Way Home, where it is currently playing in theaters. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I will not be talking spoilers. I will have a spoiler discussion either tomorrow or on Saturday, but I just want to let you rest assured I'm not going to spoil anything for you. I promise, okay? All right, so let's get into what I enjoyed about this movie. And I really want to give kudos to Tom Holland because it's been so great watching him take on this mantle of Peter Parker in these past couple of films and also in other films within the MCU. And I think that we really get to see the maturity of how he has grown into this role, but also too how he has grown into be such a good actor. I really love his portrayal of Peter in No Way Home. I will have to say this is, if someone said, Sharonda, battle, okay? Battle to the death. What is Tom Holland's best Spider-Man movie? It would be Spider-Man No Way Home. And I want to give kudos to the writers, Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, because especially within the second half of this film, I really love that they go for a darker tone in these films. You know, it has been great seeing this lighter tone and this more comical, life that Peter is living. To me personally, I don't feel like the stakes have been as high as it has been in other installments of the Spider-Man franchise. But I really love that with the writing in this film, especially within the second half of this film, that because we're able to explore such a dark tone from our villains to what is happening with Peter, the stakes are actually high for Peter in this movie. And I feel because Peter actually has to work towards that hero mantle, which many can say we've seen in previous films, but for me, Peter's always had some type of help. Especially because as they really talk about how Peter has actually learned to work within a team as opposed to what we've seen in previous Spider-Man films. I feel like Peter has almost had an unfair disadvantage because it almost seems like being a hero is something that came quite easily to him. It was just the maturity part that he actually had to grow into. Now, what I would say with this one, because the stakes are so high, because there are things that are happening personally to Peter, I think that this is when we actually get to see him fully become the Peter Parker that we always wanted to see. Now, also, too, because it has a darker tone, let's talk about my villains, okay? I'm not going to talk about all the villains because the only villain that you need to know about, Green Goblin on another level in this movie, y'all. I was like, was he this violent in the other film? I don't remember him being this violent. William, was you violent like this? When I say that William didn't come to play, he said, you know what, let me tell y'all something, okay? I might be in my 60s, all right? But I'm going to show y'all why I'm the best villain in the Spider-Man universe, all right? And he came, he ate up every second of screen time that he had. I was just like, oh my gosh, why'd you have to come so hard? Why was you going so hard, William? But I was totally here for it. I know Peter wasn't here for it, given everything that happens in the film with him, but he was actually literally William Dafoe is my favorite Spider-Man villain is Green Goblin. I think a lot of people who are into the comics will definitely feel happy about the portrayal that he has in this film. And I will say for the majority of the villains, they do take care of some of the inconsistencies that we've seen from their portrayals in the other films. They definitely do right by them. I will say some more than others. But I will say that, maybe some of the time, some of these villains, it was just like you wasn't giving me the villain that I needed. They definitely made sure to make them a little bit more menacing in this film. Does it work for everybody? It doesn't, but we're going to stick to the positives because it's not time to get petty yet. So, also too, I will say there is fan service. There is a lot of nostalgia. I think a lot of people expected that going into No Way Home, but they do it in such a way that truly makes you feel as though as a fan of these comics, as a fan of Spider-Man, you truly understand why this has been such a beloved comic book character, why there has been so many films, animated films, TV series, like you truly understand the appeal of Peter Parker. And I think they do such a fantastic job with the writing of truly paying homage to that character, but really paying homage to everything that we witnessed within these Spider-Man films over the past couple of decades. I think they do a really great job with that. And what I will say is also too, they address a lot of the inconsistencies. It's almost as if they were reading like the Reddit profiles talking about like, hold on, like, why was this happening in this film, but it what happened in the previous film? Like, had this make sense for me? And it felt like they actually listened to it. And this actually, because we've been talking a lot about reboots and remakes and sequels and prequels and them not getting it right, I feel like this is actually one of those good examples on how they try to rewrite the sins of the past with not going too deep into it. Just kind of like, hey, we heard you, we listened, let's explain it to you real quick. And it was fine. I think it totally worked. But most importantly, as we get to the end of No Way Home, I truly believe that this, like, it really shapes up to be a very interesting chapter into Peter Parker's life that I want to go on. I want to see more films with Tom Holland's character. I feel like how they position his character at the end of No Way Home, I'm very excited to see that journey. I feel like it's more consistent with the comics, that you feel the sense of maturity, that you understand everything that Peter has gone through in the previous films, but especially within this film. This has led him to fully take on that mantle of what Spider-Man really is. Now, even though I have a lot of things that I did enjoy about No Way Home, I got some issues. We got some issues. We gotta talk about issues. No movie is just completely perfect. I had some couple of issues with No Way Home, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now, while I praise the writing from Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, the first half of the film and the second half of the film, two different movies for me. Like, the first half kind of sticks to what you know with the previous Tom Holland Spider-Man films, but then as we get into that second half, I was like, oh, like, why didn't you just do what you was doing in the second half and just do that the whole movie? And then we could have had even more emotional payoff, like very great dramatic performances, especially from Tom Holland. And I was just like, why didn't we just stick with this? Like, you was right there. Like, you had it, but like you just waited a whole hour of the movie before you wanted to actually get into the part that was actually good. So I didn't understand. It didn't make sense to me. But I mean, if someone's like, hey, Sharon, you want to give your thoughts? My thoughts would be like, scrap the first half of the film. And mainly the reason why I say that is I don't like what they did with Doctor Strange. I don't like what they did with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is basically used as a plot device in order to get all of these things in motion happening. And while I will say that it's a little different than what people would assume from watching the trailers of how all of this mess gets started, which I was like, okay, I'll let y'all have that. I'm okay with that. I'm happy that you fixed that because I was like, this really didn't make sense. But overall, I just felt like he's a plot device. Doctor Strange was making decisions that Doctor Strange would not make. It didn't make sense for his character. Like this, it just didn't make sense for what Doctor Strange was doing for Peter in this movie. I was like, my man would never. He would never do this for Peter. Who is Peter to him? Now I understand they just saved the world together, but like, Doctor Strange, he don't care about that. It just, I felt like they could have got to the same endpoint like without Doctor Strange. I truly feel as though they didn't need to use him. And it just felt like it was like he was underutilized for me. It wasn't giving me what it needed to be giving me. I don't know. I'm gonna stop rambling on about that. When we get into the spoiler talk, I can talk a little bit deeper into it and give like actual examples on why this does not make sense. But I have to be vague because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But also too, all these villains were not needed in the movie. Like, William Dafoe ate all the villains up. I'm not saying he actually eating the villains in the movie, but I'm just saying that's not who I needed. But there were some villains that I did enjoy. But I will say that I enjoy Alfred and Jamie, but I will say some of the other villains, I was just like, it's so great to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. I hope that you're blessed in your life, that you're prospering and thriving, not doing villainous things, that you're trying to get your life back on track. But for this movie, baby, we didn't need you, okay? We just didn't, because you wasn't giving me anything that you needed to be giving me, but you be blessed on your journey. They just weren't doing it for. I don't want to call them out because I don't want to be petty. I don't want them to feel like they don't matter. I'm sure you matter in another universe, but in this movie, you weren't needed. But I think overall, the biggest thing that was in the back of my mind while watching this movie was me thinking about the experience that I would have had if this movie wasn't spoiled all over the internet for months. For months. Now, I'm not confirming or denying what was real, what wasn't real. But what I would say is just, I really need Sony, Disney, whoever y'all want to put the blame on, because everybody is like the blame game. Well, Disney's like, it's not my movie. It's technically, we're in partnership with Sony. Whoever it is, there should not have been as many leaks as there were. Like, when I was sitting in the movies, I was like, I was supposed to experience, and you remember you was sitting in Endgame, and you remember, spoiler alert if y'all haven't watched it, but like, why are you watching this if you haven't watched Endgame yet? But when you were watching it, when you saw Cat pick up Mjolnir, or when you heard On Your Left, like those moments, like I can literally go back to what was happening in the theater when these moments happened. And when I was watching this film, I was enjoying every minute of it, but I was just like, I wasn't shocked or surprised. And that broke my heart. And I would just really have to say that when we have more Spider-Man films, you know, for any of the other big Marvel films that are coming out, I just really hope that the studio does their job. We don't need 15 million trailers. So many things were spoiled in those trailers. Not even things that they actually saw, but it was like, you can clearly tell, like, okay, so that's the scene, so then this is going to happen and that's going to happen. It was just like, baby, teaser trailer. That's it. Treat it like a Beyonce album. Honestly, for the amount of things that happens in Spider-Man No Way Home, y'all should have just been like, here your teaser, okay? We ain't gonna give you a release date, and then it's gonna just be like, boom, it's out. Go watch the movie. That's what they need to start doing. I feel like less is more. I think at this point, you've established that as studios, you know, Sony for the Spider-Man films, only for the Spider-Man films, that, okay, they're great movies. You have great talent in them. And so let their work mean something and protect the spoilers. I don't understand why it's so hard to protect these spoilers, okay? Go talk to Sally Mae, Navient, whatever they want to call themselves, the people that they have making sure that Sally Mae don't get hacked. That's the people that you need to employ to make sure that no leaks come out for your movies, because it truly ruined my experience. It ruined my experience. I know what you guys can say, Sharana, you should have muted it, you should have stayed away from spoilers. You really couldn't. And I don't even search for spoilers. And it was just there all around for months, literally almost a whole year of spoilers before the movie came out. And honestly, that is a kind of for the movie, because that's on the studio to make sure that they're protecting our viewing experience, not giving scoops in the middle of interviews, spoiling things. I'm just like, hey, like, remember the fans? Remember how we're trying to protect the theatrical experience? Let's actually do that and stop the leaks. I'm starting to believe it's a conspiracy. I'm putting my conspiracy hat on. I'm starting to think it's a conspiracy, and they want some of these leaks come out as if they have to convince people to go to the movies to watch a Spider-Man film. Like, look, we love Tom Holland and Spider-Man. Like, I never had a doubt in my mind people wouldn't go watch this movie, but I just want them to do better. Do better. Be better. Okay? Y'all got more than enough money. Go hire Sally Mae, whoever, make sure that they don't get hacked. Hire the same people, and then I can have a great viewing experience. But overall for me, I had to do my little rant about the spoiling, because I was really sad the whole time I was watching this movie, because I know that I should have been even more hyped than what I was. But what I would tell you to do with you and your coins for Spider-Man No Way Home, I would tell you to pay to go see it. You're going to get your entire life. You're going to get one of the best Spider-Man villains, the best performances out of Tom Holland, his best Spider-Man movie yet, okay? Setting us up for a new journey, a new road for Peter Parker to travel on, and I was totally here for every single minute. So, those are my thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. As always, my name is Sharana from Payroll Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000, and until I see you again, bye!